I'm not a man hater and I'm not trying to be edgy, but genuinely, the older I get, the more I truly believe that women are superior. In reality, nobody is technically superior, right? We're two parts of a mechanism that is supposed to work together evolutionarily, biologically, psychologically, right? It seems that the male's individual evolution has kind of capped at, be strong and tough and protect and hunt. Whereas the historical female role of being a mother and a caregiver and being the one to teach the next generation has allowed us to evolve more intellect, communication, even emotional intelligence. We get told that we are the emotional ones as dude punches a wall, right? But it's actually that we have more of a capacity to understand our emotions, to intellectually dissect them and to communicate them, either to ourselves internally or to others. And that makes sense as biological caregivers. Like in a natural world, the male would go out and do what animals do. He would go out and get food. And then he brings the food back home to the female, and the female does something that's very human and very advanced beyond animalistic nature, which is to cook and prepare the food, especially when it comes to meat, which we can't naturally consume raw. Like, she has to cook it in a way that it doesn't kill the entire family. Not to mention, the females were helping other females give birth. And I know what you're thinking, oh, but animals also give birth, blah, blah, blah. But no, when humans became bipedal, that screwed up a lot for us in terms of gestation and birth, okay? That's why we have a higher, risk of mortality than other animals. But who was assisting medically in these births? Other women, other females. Also, when you have that baby, you have that newborn, there's a certain level of intuition that plays into taking care of a newborn. We're much more sensitive to picking up on unspoken cues, feelings, vibes, okay? And all of this is why men every day are fighting their primal urges to, one, spread their seed, and two, to have more anger on average, because anger drives protection, right, in a natural world. But women, we aren't having to fight our primal urges as much. So we're able to ascend a little bit more and develop more traits like our intellect, our communication, okay? We teach the next generation how to talk. Historically, mothers and women teach children everything they know up to a certain age. So we have to have, a higher intellectual capacity and better communication skills. And don't get me wrong, my whole life I was, under the impression that nobody was superior to anybody, in that male and females are equal. But as a mom, as someone who sees a lot of young children, let me tell you something that my midwife told me that ended up being extremely true in my experience of having a daughter and a son. My midwife told me that when boys are born, baby boys, when they first come out of the womb, they're ready to just cuddle up to mom and close their eyes, go to sleep and breastfeed and everything, right? Whereas girls, when baby girls are born, they look around and they look skeptical. They look concerned, like they are aware, and they're reading the people around them. And as we all know, as kids get older, the girls are always very much ahead of the boys. I remember as a kid, the boys felt like young children compared to the girls in my class and compared to myself. When I started becoming attracted to boys, it was like, oh, I want to be attracted to one of these boys in my grade, but they're like young children and I'm becoming a teenager. And even in toddlers, my older kid is a girl. She learned how to do most things at an earlier age than my son. And that is completely common. Like even the pediatrician will say, oh, well, he's a boy. Other moms, like this is a universal experience. However, I will say that my son, on the other hand, is much more like physically, I don't even know the word. Like for example, I have never been able to keep my son contained in a baby fence. As early as he could pull himself up to stand on the fence, he would shake the gate until it popped open. A baby gate that's made to contain him. As a baby, he learned that he could push toys up to stand on and climb over, right? My daughter never did things like that. And yeah, I just got my first gray hair. I don't know where it is, but But anyway, that's why the world is so upside down, living in a patriarchy. And it's understandable how we got that way, because the big, strong beings that are more prone to violence obviously are gonna be more likely to dominate the beings that aren't trying to dominate anybody. And then they had to manipulate us into believing that femininity is being soft and quiet and subservient, because they had to make us smaller than them in order to feed this illusion that they are superior. But when you look at animals in the wild, it's usually the females, and especially mothers, that you don't want to mess with. They're the ones building nests and little homes. And the males are either messing around, going and spreading their seed, or they're being managed by the females. Help me build this nest and then go get some food. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments.